Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Barrel Chat Podcast. We are a podcast that provides an unfiltered look into the craft beer industry from the untrained palates of two dumbass outsiders. My name is Mathew Muncy, and as always, I'm joined by Mr. Dustin Wood. How you doing, Dustin?
Good. It's finally nice to not be sick and nice to not get Matt sick or me getting whoever got whoever sick.
Yeah, the last time we recorded episodes, we wound up with COVID. And so that was about almost 2 weeks ago now. So that was a fun adventure.
Yeah.
Because that one really fucked me up this time.
It got Matt pretty good.
It really did. It showed that I may have an unknown heart condition. That was a fun day. But, and sadly, I haven't had beer since then, because I got put on a bunch of COVID medicine, and I refuse to fuck with alcohol and medicine and stuff like that. I just don't want to deal with any of that. But we're back, and we're re-recording an episode. So if you've listened to episode 8 and I think 9,
yep.
We made mention to a Taxman beer that was supposed to be episode 9. But because I'm an idiot, I accidentally just recorded only Dustin talking the entire episode for the Taxman beer. So
that would have been terrible. We don't want that.
I mean, everyone was probably like, "Where the hell Matt go?" But luckily, I had a few more left, so we're gonna redo it. It is a good beer, so you might as well redo it anyways. So this episode, we are drinking Gold Standard, which is a house beer for Taxman Brewing Company. Taxman, they are located out of Bargersville, Indiana, so just a little bit south of Franklin or Greenwood, for those of you in the area. That's where their main brewery is located. They also have at least 2 tap rooms that we know of. One is downtown Indy in the Cityway, which is located right next to Gainbridge Fieldhouse where the Pacers play. And then they have a tap room up in Fortville. And I can tell you that tap room in Fortville is awesome.
Yeah,
there's a ton of seating. We went there a few weeks ago and learned that there's an entire upstairs as well to that place where you can go and sit. And there's a second bar. It's very cool. It's almost like an intimate type thing.
I did not know that.
I didn't either. We go in and they're like, "Do you care if you sit upstairs?" And we're like, "Well, no. I mean, why would you care? But also, you have an upstairs to this place."
Isn't it awfully cold up there?
Yeah, it was cool. I liked it. So, yeah, and the Fortville one's only 10 minutes away, which beats the other 2 locations being much further. So we do go there from time to time. So as I said, we're drinking Gold Standard, which is a Belgian Blonde Ale. Comes in at 6.2 ABV, 20 IBU, only a 3.62 on Untapped.
Yeah. I'm going to say it's the exact same thing that happens with Sun King's Cream Ale and others. This beer is brewed better than a 3.62 on Untapped, but it also is kind of, I mean, it's not boring, so to say, but it's not got adjuncts and it's not the most sought after stuff, and it doesn't get that bump, because if it was brewed by Three Floyds, which we talked earlier, it would probably be a 4.1 because it gets that extra hype, because Taxman doesn't do that, and Taxman does what Taxman does. They brew Belgian-style beers. They sell them for ridiculously affordable prices, and they make good food. So I think while 3.62 is okay, I think it's too low for the actual beer itself.
I got the same feeling, too. And you know, a lot of it, too, is just, one, it's a Belgian Blonde Ale. People are going to put that up against, like, true from Belgian. Yeah, and like that's gonna knock you a little bit, but for this beer, they say trust the Gold Standard, or Abbey-style blonde ale with a golden body befitting of its name. This ale pairs dynamic, fruity, and spicy Belgian esters with malty flavors of honey and biscuit. A subtle note of delicate hops completes this clean and crisp Belgian-style single. So before we jump into the guidelines, let's talk about this can design. So, Dustin, since you are the in-house designer of the two of us, I'm going to let you tell us what we should think about this.
So, Taxman's very, very simplistic when it comes to their design. Their cans all have the same style. They're all a solid black or a solid silver or a solid something like that. And then they have this bright pop color, almost like church style window with the Taxman skull and top hat and bow tie in the middle of it. And then what the beer is in a legible font, kind of breaks it into different sections, says that it's Belgian-inspired, tells you the ABVs and the IBUs, and it says it's American crafted. It's got what I think is a fleur-de-lis on it, and I'm not entirely sure where that fits in. Interesting to me. I don't know if it has some sort of tie to it's New Orleans, right? That the fleur-de-lis really kind of pop or big.
That's what I thought. Well, it'd be a French.
Oh yeah, the French Quarters. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So it's a French thing that everyone in America associates with
New Orleans.
But
as far as can design, one, I do know that this can I'm holding in my hand is a solid black can underneath this little press and stick label, so to say, that's branded with Taxman Brewing Company on it. That's interesting to me. So they probably have just a huge stash of black cans that they then run through the line. That's interesting. The one thing that I don't really like is the matte print with the shiny can. Something about that throws me off. But as far as layout, design, when they're stacked next to each other on a shelf, they look cool. Because like this is a Taxman display. This is the Taxman with gold standard. The blue one is, I think it's deduction. But so they're all very similar, but it's just kind of a boring can design overall. Nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't pop out to me. Now I do love the little skull head guy. He's cool. I love their tap handles whenever they do the tap handles in wooden and they have the skull guy embossed on it. But it's kind of hard to read the description on the back of the can because it's shiny. So in strange lighting like we're in right now, it's hard to read that. But other than that, I mean, you would know it's Taxman. It doesn't hide.
That is the one thing I think that really sticks out for them is when you see this can, once you know who Taxman is and once you've seen it multiple times, you instantly know, oh, it's a Taxman beer. They keep it very simplistic, very minimalistic, which is not a bad thing. Does it necessarily draw your eye? I think if these were set alone by themselves, they would not draw your eye as much. But the way that you normally see them on shelves is next to each other. Like each of the Taxman beers are next to each other. So you have this yellow and then a red and then a purple and a blue or, whatever it else. And then you start getting into some of the different can designs that they do for frozen assets or some of their other specialty beers where it's not like this flat black label. They actually have a design to it. And that's when it really starts to kind of pop because you see those and you're like, well, okay, now my attention is drawn to it. It's almost like this flag that you see and you want to know, well, what do all the colors mean? What is special about this beer? Why does it look different than all these other ones? And they do typically, gold standards, gold. The frozen assets is blue. So a lot of it sticks together like that. I do like where it says alcohol by volume and IBU, it looks handwritten and it's not, but I really like that instead of it being just a typed on or a digitized or anything like that. It looks like someone just literally wrote that in very nice, neat handwriting. The silver lettering is a bit hard to read. The light reflects on it in a way where because of the can body, it's it only hits on it in certain spots. And so as you kind of, move the can, roll the can, the light also rolls. And then so some of it becomes darker while the rest of it becomes lighter. It's not very good in that way.
It's wildly iridescent whenever you roll it.
The only thing that I really have a problem with, and this is more OCD perfectionist, is these labels are not even remotely straight. Like they're hanging off the bottom of the can and you can feel it in your hand. That to me, I understand it. It's coming off a can line and you can't physically check every single one, but I don't know. That's a quality kind of thing to me that would drive me insane if I was the person running that can line or running the show down there. Like I would want that to be fixed, just because it's like that's the kind of stuff that when people start to notice it, then it starts to question other things. Well, if you're not picking up on this, what else are you kind of letting through the quality the quality check? And that's not something you want. And like that's a very stupid thing to even think about, but I think everybody has really gone through that at some point in their life at a job where, you know, you let one thing slide and then people start to question what else are you letting slide because it may or may not be that big of a deal. Also, like, it's not tightly put on. Like, there's
definitely
bubbles and
yeah.
stuff like that. That just drives me insane. I don't feel like on the last one we had this many problems. So I don't know if this is from being in my refrigerator or what the thing is, but it feels like there's a lot of like small quality things that could be done better. And maybe it was just a bad run or something. But
the other thing that really interests me, and this only sticks out to me and maybe other people from Indiana, is I think it should have a black top. The can should have a black top and a black bottom, exactly like the stuff from they have the Salmon Pants beer and
War Pigs.
Yeah. So War Pigs has a black top and a black bottom on all their cans. So everything's black. I think that's super sharp and definitely stands out more on shelves. So if you're going to go ballsy and go a black printed can, just get a black top.
Yeah, I do wonder how much, like, money wise does that cost to just go all black?
Yeah. Because I know that they do brights. So the cans come without a lid on them, and then they seal the lid on top of it after it's filled.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like you have to fill it through the top of the lid. So I assume black lids are more expensive.
Yeah, that would make sense. All right, let's get into this beer. So this is the BJCP beer style guideline for a Belgian Blonde Ale. History-wise, relatively recent development to further appeal to European Pils drinkers, becoming more popular as it heavily marketed and widely distributed. Despite claims of links back to 1200,
Jeez.
The beer style was created after World War II and was first popularized by Leffy, which I know is a beer company themselves.
Yeah,
that
Leffy's...
everyone has definitely seen. You may not recognize the name because I didn't, and then I had to look it up.
Yeah, as soon as you see the logo on the bottle itself, you'll know what it is.
Yep. All right. Overall impression: a golden, moderately strong Belgian ale with a pleasantly subtle, citrusy, spicy yeast complexity, smooth, malty palate, and dry, soft finish. I think it's going to get pretty close to that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really close. I mean, that's what they do, right? They make Belgian styles.
Yeah.
That's what they do on Mondays. That's what they do on Fridays.
So if you're making only Belgians, your shit better be at least hitting pretty close to the style guidelines, especially for just basic classic styles.
Yeah, like the house beer.
Yeah, you gotta at least be getting close. Appearance-wise, deep yellow to deep gold color, generally very clear, large, dense, and creamy white to off-white head, good head retention with Belgian lace. Definitely golden.
It is very golden. It has an awesome little white head on it in my cup. Matt's is a little less over there, but I have.
But it's still
Pilsner.
going strong. that is one of the night. I mean, it does say good head retention, and I mean, we poured these quite a while ago.
Yeah, for sure.
It's still going.
And as far as lacing is concerned, I do have a little bit. It's not quite as cool as I've seen on some of the posts that Ron Smith makes and some other people who are drinking the crazy Belgian things. But it is doing that. It's got the alcohol legs kind of going on. It's dense for sure. That head is really dense on here. Good head retention. So as far as appearance goes, it's definitely gold. It has no yellow tones. I mean, yellow is gold, but it's like gold.
Yeah, it's definitely a dark gold too, because you can't really see, like, you can somewhat see through the beer, but it's a bit deep color there. But it's a clear beer. This thing is clean as clean can be.
Yep, it's opaque, but you can see the cool like bubble flow in it from the aeration spot on my glass.
All right, let's drop down to aroma. Light to moderate grainy sweet, slightly toasty or crackery malt, subtle to moderate yeast profile featuring fruity, citrusy esters like oranges or lemons, and background spicy, peppery phenols. Light, earthy, or spicy hop notes optional. Light, perfumey alcohol and suggestions of a light malty sweetness can give a slight honey or sugar-like character. Subtle yet complex.
So the first thing that really jumps out on the nose here is the light perfumey alcohol. It's almost like a cheap perfume, which I mean, I don't expect beer to smell like a good perfume. That'd be weird. But it's got that sweetness. The more I take in of the smell, I get a lot of almost honey, but it's not quite honey. So it's like maybe a mixture of like a honey and clove.
Yeah. I definitely get some of that honey smell. You definitely get that kind of that spicy, peppery smell to it. And the malt.
Yeah.
Like it's all just kind of there and nothing really overtakes anything. It is a well-balanced like aroma to it. And that's one of the things I really enjoy, because typically at least from what I have found, and obviously everyone's going to feel differently, but if a beer smells good, it generally tastes good.
Yeah, most of the time. Then you have some that smell great and you're like, oh, this is going to be fantastic. And then it falls on its face and that sucks.
That is true. Yeah, like you don't taste any of the smells, which is not how any of that's supposed to work.
But this one's bold in every aspect of what it says here. It's light. It's kind of toasty. I don't think toasty is the right word, but it says toasty or crackery malt here. But it's got a little bit of the like citrus fruit. That spice hits pretty hard. And then you do have that perfumey alcohol, which I like. And then the sweetness is on the very, very back end. So it takes a little while to hit, but it does have a nice subtle sweet note.
Let's jump in the flavor. So this is going to be similar to the aroma, with the light to moderate grainy sweet malt flavor being perceived first. Faint, lightly caramelized sugar or honey light sweetness on palate. Medium bitterness with the malt slightly more prominent in the balance. Moderate to low yeast profile with orange or lemon esters and a slight spicy peppery phenol. Can have a light perfumey character. Light hop flavor, can be spicy or earthy, complementing yeast. Finishes medium dry to dry, smooth and soft with light alcohol and malt to the aftertaste.
There's a lot of malt in the aftertaste. I just was glistening as you were reading that and going, malt. And I love a good malt backbone to a beer, so big fan of that. There's definitely some of the like peppery phenols going on. I don't know that I get perfume in the flavor.
I feel like that light alcohol is kind of that perfumey taste. Like everyone's kind of accidentally had, sprayed cologne or perfume like in your mouth on accident.
Or somebody walks by with way too much of it on and you can taste it.
Yeah. And that's kind of what you get with this. And I think a lot of that is coming from that. This is just me theorizing. I feel like a lot of that comes from those phenols because it's a little peppery, a little spicy. And that's kind of what perfume tastes like when you accidentally put it in your mouth or drink it because you need to get drunk. I don't know what people do with.
Man, Matt's telling some backstories of his history. No.
Back in 1975.
It does finish medium, quite dry, pretty soft mouthfeel there. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but it finishes soft, so that has to kind of be the mouthfeel.
Yeah.
But that malt aftertaste is fantastic. It does just kind of nicely linger for long enough, but not be really annoying. And it's not overpowering, but it is there.
It matches what it's supposed to be. Like that's what we're looking at here. Is you're looking at a beer that tells you exactly what it's gonna be, and it is.
Yep.
And that's you really can't ask for anything more than that. Like, sure, you may want it to go above and beyond, but like, okay, sometimes you like if we had a Trappist beer here, then you could sit here and say, well, this is what, the best Belgian tastes like. Well, what's different about it? Why, then you start to figure out, well, why is it different? What's different?
Water,
Stuff
baby.
like that. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of times it does just come down to that. It's what you hear all the time from brewers is the stuff made in Europe is just different because of water, because of ingredients. Like,
Yeah, we have limestone come out of our fucking ears here, which probably is hard to deal with a Belgian-style beer.
yeah. I mean, when you got places like Blackacre having a reverse osmosis machine, like that sounds like an incredible extra bit of process that maybe some of the European places don't need to have. And things are just going to taste different. But I think for a Belgian brewery in Podunk, Indiana, because that is exactly what Bargersville is.
Yeah, in the middle of bumfuck Egypt.
This is, you can't really ask for anything better than this.
Well, and a shelf beer, too. It just, you can walk into any Kroger, any Target, any Meijer, for the most part, get them. Any liquor store.
And they're $8.
Yeah.
$8 for a 4-pack, $2 a beer. 100% worth it. 100% worth it. So last thing on this list here is mouthfeel. Medium high to high carbonation can give mouth-filling bubbly sensation. Medium body, light to moderate alcohol warmth, but smooth, can be somewhat creamy.
It's definitely creamy. Not
yeah,
in
it
a
kind of
bad
has
way,
like
but
a cream ale body to it in a way.
Yeah, it creamed corn comes to mind. The beer from Burnham, I think it is.
Yeah.
That like body consistency is very similar. So it's got that like thick viscosity, but still has a ton of like carbonation and the bubbly sensation, so to say here.
Yeah.
But I don't get a whole lot of alcohol warmth by any means, but it's just a nicely balanced mouthfeel. I have zero complaints.
Yeah. I think it matches what it needs to, and
it goes down way too fast.
It really does.
That's my complaint.
All right. So now we get to the tough part of this tier list. Currently, we have 3 beers, S tier. All of them somehow have made it to S tier. 3 Floyd Zombie Dust is sitting at number 3 out of 50. Cosmetic Beer Company's Italian Pilsner is sitting at number 8 out of 50. And Moontown Cecil New England IPA is sitting at number 9 out of 50. So the S tier, we have S, A, B, C, and D. Each tier has 10 spots. So essentially we're making a top 50 list. And now we get to decide where we're going to put Taxman Brewing's Gold Standard.
And this one's going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah. I still have it listed as where we put it the last time. I didn't remove it from the list, which I know you don't have access to, but
somewhere in the A tier, I think.
Yeah, we did talk A tier, and I think that's fair. I think it is an A tier beer. It's not S tier. It doesn't blow you away, but I feel like B tier is someone that's got some problems to it.
Yep.
And like I don't feel like this beer has problems to it.
No, it's too clean. It's really well done. It's mass produced too, like high quality, high volumes. So they've got everything down to a science, which sounds dumb as shit, but he brews things consistently every time. So this beer hits this mark every single time. That's to me an A tier beer, at least an A tier beer, no matter how you slice it. Now, it's not an S tier. For a few reasons. One, it's not better than Cecil, and Cecil's number 9, so the only other option we have there is 10. And I think there's going to be better versions of this if we were to want to search out a better version of this. But in Indiana, this is probably the best you're going to get.
To be honest, we'll just have to have them on. I know we try not to do a bunch of the same like house beers and stuff all at once. But like deduction and exemption are like duels and stuff. Like I like that style of beer more than I do just a Belgian blonde. So I feel like those might have a better chance of getting an S tier than this. And
Deduction was one of my favorite beers for a long time.
Because that's what like their qualified series is basically made out of, is a lot of those beers.
So to me, this feels 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Ballpark.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong there. It's kind of middle. Like it's not too bad to be close to B. It's not too great to be close to S. So like sitting right in the middle there, 15, 16 just feels pretty right. And that gives it some wiggle room too as we continue to move along and see, you know, where the other house beers fall when we drink them.
Yeah, I think it's a dead center 15. It's balanced really nicely. I would pick it up if I didn't know what else I was looking for at Meijer or whatnot. 1, because it's a good beer. 2, because it's $8. And 3, because I know it's going to be consistently good. It's not going to have something really shitty happen. I've never had a bad like can with no CO2. I've never had a bad like diacetyl from any of them, anything like that. Never had any off flavors on the beers that I've had from Taxman. So I would say it's fair to put it in the middle. It's also super fair to call it an A beer. It's definitely not an S tier beer, so there's no discussion at that point.
Yeah, 15. I think 15 works. It's definitely a beer that you do eventually grow out of. Well, for some people, you know, like people who are making a beer podcast, this is the kind of beer that you grow out of. It's like zombie dust. You just eventually grow out of it, but it's always fun to come back to remind yourself, oh, this is what a good house beer is like. It's just like Sunlight Cream Ale. Like those are the kind of beers where you're like, instead of going and buying Bud Light, Coors Light to take on a camping trip or go, tailgate for a concert, instead of grabbing that, like you're going to go grab Gold Standard or Sunlight or something like that, because you don't necessarily want to get super messed up. I mean, maybe you do, and then you're bringing other stuff. But like if you're trying to do a bunch of beers but make them light, you're going after stuff like that, not these IPAs or the things that, you know, are super heavy that once you drink 1 or 2 of them, even if they're only 6-7% ABV, but they're sitting heavily on your stomach, you don't want it anymore. And that's where these have a place, I think, to people like us. But then they're also just a great intro beer. You get new people coming down or to one of these taproom locations and, you know, hey, I drink Bud Light. What would you recommend? Boom. They're going to tell you Gold Standard every day. And I think a lot of places need that. I think that's where Sun King's Cream Ale really stood out in the market, is because that's how a lot of us told people, and even our parents. It was like, try this, you know, and you know, I bet 99% of the time a dad or mom tries that and they're like, oh, this is pretty good. It's like, yeah, it's not that much different than, you know, your Bud Lights or Coors Lights or Miller Lights or anything like that.
It's just a
little bit more expensive. Like that's it. Like no one's expecting you to change your ways and go start buying it, but you know, it's got a little bit more flavor, and that's really it. So
to give a nice shout out to Taxman in general, if you're in Indiana, go try their food. It is insanely good.
That food is stupid good.
They have a chicken and waffles that they serve over Brussels sprouts. It's not there every time.
So this would be the one complaint I have about their food, and let's just say I've not verified this at all. The chicken and waffles that we had that one time at Cityway were the absolute best chicken and waffles I've ever had. I then went back a few months later and had it for brunch, and it was nowhere near as good.
That's disappointing because that was dumb good.
And then I just had it a few months ago at Fortville. It didn't come with Brussels sprouts. Like everything had kind of changed. It was like a hot honey now. Like it was just different. And like it was still good, but it was not that first one that we had. So I don't know if that was like a special or if like each location is different.
Yeah, that's true.
In some way, but
because we went to Cityway and it was pretty close to like Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
So it may have been like a menu special for that like time frame.
The brunch one didn't surprise me because obviously with brunch you usually get like a lesser version of it. But then I got the normal size at Fortville and it was completely different. And it was just like, man, that's disappointing because that was so incredibly good. Now,
yeah, the one that we had at Cityway was like on a bed of seasoned sautéed Brussels sprouts that had some sort. It was like a sriracha, like honey or sriracha maple syrup or something like that on it. Oh my god, it was insane.
So good.
Still send people to Cityway because everything is good. I mean, any of the locations, but Cityway is kind of interesting because the building. They're all really cool buildings, but there's something special about that Cityway building. It's just cool space.
It really is. I will say this, their French fries, I don't know how they make their French fries, but they are like the best fries that I eat. Like there's just not like there's actual flavor and texture, and it's not just a soggy bag of French fries, it feels like. It reminds me a lot of Five Guys fries where you know that they didn't just pull them out of a bag.
Yeah.
But they're made in pork lard. And they are so damn good that my vegetarian wife eats them, knowing full well they're made in pork lard.
Oh, man.
I give her shit every time. And she's just like, I don't care. They're that good. They're that good.
Well, that's like Chick-fil-A. My wife goes, hates pickles, despises pickles. And I'm like, you realize that those are brined in pickle juice, right? They're like, their chicken sandwiches are like fried in pickle juice.
I did not know that. I've grown to like pickles. I used to hate pickles.
I like pickles. I love a really weird tangent, but I love a fresh pickle that you could still get a little bit of like the cucumber crunch to it. I don't know why. I think Brew Burger had some super solid ones for a while.
I will not eat like whole pickles or sliced pickles, like a pickle wedge. I will only eat pickles if they're on a sandwich.
Okay, like pickle rounds. Interesting.
Yep. I think it's more of just a texture. I'm the same way with like tomatoes. I will not just sit around and eat tomatoes, but like you put a tomato on a sandwich, I'll eat it. I got weird shit like that.
And here's your random shit on a podcast.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and just end this thing. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. We are at Barrel Chat. On there, we do a lot of stories. We try and do some posts about the episodes themselves, little things like that. So just stick on there and give us a follow. And that way, when we're out and about, you can come and find us. We'll probably be we're trying to decide if we're going to go to the A Tap Room or the
Death and
Taxes. They both are having parties on the same day. So if we do make it out and about, we're trying to decide which one's there. If you enjoy our show, give us a 5-star rating on whichever podcast app you use. From our analytics, it looks like the majority of you are using either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So if you can, just leave us a 5-star rating. I mean, honestly, just leave us whatever rating you actually feel is correct if we're only a 4-star. But, you know, the better the rating, the more it does like their algorithms things. Or this is what I anticipate is that if someone else is listening to like another beer podcast, then we may come up as a, you know, other people are listening to this show. So
you might like.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So that'd be cool to pop up on those. And then if you got any kind of, if you got a specific beer you want us to review, like let's say there's a Pax Verum or there's somebody in this state that you want us, Pax Verum just came to mind because I was at Meyer recently, but you got someone in the state that you want us to go look at, you know, drop us a DM on Instagram, send us an email at barrelchatpodcast@gmail.com and we'll try and go out and find it. And that way we can do that. Or if you got a beer that, you know, you brought back, maybe you brought back an extra vacation beer or something, or you got one just sitting in your cellar that you got extra of and you just want to share it, we'll accept that and we'll put it on the show as well and give you a shout out. But, you know, if you want to sell us a rare beer, I think we'd be open to that as well.
I'd buy it. We bought that last episode you guys listened to. I paid probably through the teeth for that from Social Project, but worth every penny.
Yeah.
So we'll hook you up.
We will definitely do that. So with that is going to be the end of the show, and we will see you all next week. Cheers.
Cheers.